This week's Raw wasn't great, it wasn't even good. After the momentum from last week's killer SmackDown and Raw, this episode felt like a massive letdown. I'll be honest, I had to take breaks just to get through it. 3 hours, or let's just say 2 hours without the ads, of a show that felt more like a chore than entertainment. Shorter matches were solid, but the pacing, the energy, the storytelling, flat, just fucking flat. This is not the follow-up episode I was hoping for, and while there were glimmers of something interesting like Seth Rollins giving Sami Zayn the ultimatum, the rest a snooze fest. So yeah, this Raw was pretty boring, but hey, let's talk about it anyway. Welcome to the third rope. Let's break down this tedious Monday Night Raw. First up, Seth Rollins, Bron and Paul Heyman opened the show as the new faction. The crowd sings Seth's song, which honestly feels off. He's a heel now, and it's not landing the way it should. He should be getting booed, not praise. Seth talks about his WrestleMania win over Roman Reigns and CM Punk and how he and Bron are the future of the WWE, with Paul Heyman guiding them. Then Sami Zayn interrupts. He tells Seth this isn't the future and that they've known each other for over 20 years. He's clearly trying to reason with him. Seth gives him an ultimatum: go to SmackDown or stay on Raw and become the problem. He says he doesn't want to fight Sami, but when Sami and Bron lock eyes, the tension spikes. Sami tells Bron straight up, "I'll kick your head off." Seth closes it by giving Sami until the end of the night to make his decision. Good segment overall, solid tension, decent character work. Sami trying to save Seth from going off the deep end adds some actual weight to the story, so we didn't mind that. We get Rhea Ripley versus Roxanne Perez is next, and it's a hard-hitting back and forth match from the start. Roxanne targets Rhea's leg, wearing it down with focused defense, but Rhea fights through the pain like a machine. Roxanne lands some big moves, including a moonsault and an impressive hurricanrana into a DDT. Now Rhea answers back with pure brutality, hitting a razor's edge, then a stiff knee to the face. She goes for the pin, but her injured leg stops her from getting full pressure, allowing Roxanne to kick out. Then comes the turning point. Julia shows up, distracting Rhea just as she's setting up the riptide. Rhea keeps control for a moment, hits a headbutt, lifts Roxanne for the finish, but Julia attacks and the ref calls for the bell. Julia and Roxanne start assaulting Rhea. That is until Io Sky rushes in for the save. She attempts a springboard but gets knocked off the ropes midair. They beat down Io, but Rhea recovers, grabs both of them and forces them to flee the ring. Now Rhea and Io end up standing tall, and it looks like we're heading toward an uneasy alliance between the two, likely to face Julia and Roxanne. Strong match, solid segment, and it sets up an interesting direction heading into Backlash. One built on tension, respect, and revenge. Logan Paul makes his way to the ring, greeted by a wave of boos. He leans into it, calling the crowd stupid, pulling out every classic heel move in the book. He's cocky, arrogant, and now fully convinced he's one of the greatest wrestlers alive after beating AJ Styles at WrestleMania. Then, out of nowhere, Jey Uso's music hits. The crowd pops, the yeet movement begins, but thankfully it's a shorter yeet this time. Jey steps in the ring face to face with Logan and the tension builds fast. It's clear we're heading toward Logan Paul versus Jey Uso, possibly for the World Heavyweight Championship at Backlash. Now Logan keeps running his mouth mocking Jey, until Jey finally hits him with a thunderous super kick, dropping Logan flat in the ring. Now the crowd explodes. This was short but effective. Jey looks like Logan's next challenger. This feud could bring a nice blend of charisma, speed, and chaos, and honestly Backlash just got a little bit more interesting. Then we got War Raiders versus JD McDonough and Finn Balor for the #1 contendership to New Day's tag team titles. Now first off, let's talk about the New Day on commentary. They were hilarious. Their new heel energy works really well, and they kept things quite entertaining throughout the match with constant jabs and sarcasm. As for the match itself, solid but not spectacular. It was back and forth, though the War Raiders controlled most of the match, using their size and power to overwhelm. One highlight, Ivar's spinning heel kick on JD McDonough. Absolutely stunning for a guy his size. Now later, Ivar goes for the Doomsault, but Balor smartly rolls out of the way, keeping Judgment Day in it. Then JD gets the hot tag and starts flying, moonsault to the outside, taking out both Raiders, then a second moonsault in the ring onto Ivar. JD was fantastic on this. He really shined in this match. Just as things were heating up, chaos breaks loose. Ivar throws Bella into the New Day at ringside and then splashes them, adding fuel to that fire. Then out of nowhere, Penta appears, cutting off JD's momentum and getting some payback on Judgment Day. Now the distraction costs them. War Raiders hit the War Machine on JD and pick up the win. Now they move on to face New Day for the tag team titles again, probably at Backlash. Decent match, some good movement, but it could have hit harder. That said, Penta's interference makes sense and it keeps the Judgment Day storylines moving. Next up is a quiet but powerful segment between Sami Zayn and Paul Heyman, and it's all about manipulation here. Heyman tries to convince Sami to leave Raw and go to SmackDown, promising him a future shot at the WWE Championship against the winner of John Cena versus Randy Orton. But let's be real, this is classic Heyman mind games, it really is. There's no guarantee Sami will actually get that title shot. It's vague, it's persuasive, and it's exactly how Heyman operates, dangling opportunity like a carrot. He even delivers a killer line: you can live in the future or die in the past. Chilling, effective, peak Heyman. The segment adds major weight to the main event. And will Sami go to SmackDown and chase gold, or stay on Raw and confront Bron Breakker? This wasn't a loud or flashy segment, but it was brilliantly written and sets up a high stakes decision with emotional depth and narrative payoff. Becky Lynch comes out full heel mode, but the crowds are not quite playing along. They're still chanting like she's a face, whoa, which undercuts the vibe a bit. She doesn't hold back though. Becky confirms she was the one who attacked Bayley, no mystery, just straight up confessed before WrestleMania 41. She cuts a vicious promo throwing out years of history and jealousy. This isn't just about Bayley, it's also about Lyra Valkyria too. Becky shifts focus to Lyra, saying she can't understand why Lyra would team up with Bayley when Becky's been fighting her battles for 6 years. There's bitterness, ego, a sense of betrayal. The Lyra comes out furious and delivers a strong line that cuts deep. The illusion of Becky Lynch is dead. Probably the highlight of the segment. This sets up their clash at Backlash for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. There's some back and forth, good tension, but Becky still doesn't quite come off as like a full heel. She slips in and out of it, which makes her delivery feel inconsistent, and she goes way overboard with her yelling. Now the segment ends with Lyra attacking Becky, only for Becky to flee, then ambush her from behind at the entrance, a classic sneak attack. Good segment overall, not perfect, but the match is set. Now it's about whether they can really sell this emotional fallout in the next 2 weeks. Stephanie Vaca versus Ivy Nile was up next, and honestly, it was a solid match. No real story behind it, but the in-ring work made up for it. Now the match was technical, tense, and filled with crisp transitions. Both women brought a high level of intensity with lots of holds, reversals, and a few really strong near falls. The one that had the crowd biting. Now one standout moment, Stephanie Vaca's devil kiss. Oh, not once but twice, and she absolutely nailed the theatrics. For any fan, yeah, it's a moment that grabs attention. The action continued to pick up, with Nile hitting a Meteora, looking to seal the win, but Chad Gable at ringside interfered, putting Ivy Nile's foot on the rope to save the match. Now the crowd starts chanting, "This is awesome," and for good reason. The pacing was tight, the reversals were slick, and the chemistry between the two were quite impressive. In the final stretch, Stephanie Vaca takes control and hits her finisher, the SVP, a brutal snapping backbreaker variation that looks like it really hurts. Now Stephanie picks up the win, and honestly, while it wasn't much story, the match was pretty fucking entertaining and cleanly worked. Definitely a standout in terms of wrestling, even if the stakes were low. Pat McAfee comes out and cuts a scathing emotional promo on Gunther. You could tell he meant every word, raw energy, anger, and intensity all over the mic. He even drops a few F-bombs, which of course were censored on Netflix, but the vibe was clear. This was personal. Now the crowd was fully behind Pat, hanging on every word, and then the big challenge, Pat McAfee calls out Gunther for a match at Backlash. Now look, we all know Pat can wrestle. He's had some strong showings in the past, but let's be real, Gunther can't lose this. He's one of the most dominant forces in WWE right now, and protecting that aura is crucial. Still, as a build-up promo, this delivered. McAfee versus Gunther at Backlash might not be a classic, but it'll be loud, brutal, and probably unforgettable. and Gunther's actually suspended as well at the moment. So to close out Raw, we had the continuation of this whole Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins situation, and honestly, this was one of the few parts of the show that actually had weight. Sami comes out and calls out Seth Rollins again, and this time he's had enough. He tells Seth straight up, "You're playing games with me," and says he's not going to live with a target on his back. Then he drops the line of the night, "Go to hell." That hit hard. Sami made it clear he's not taking shortcuts, not switching brands for favors, and definitely not letting Heyman manipulate him with fake title promises. Then things escalate. We get Sami Zayn versus Bron Breakker, and this was more of a statement than a match. Sami puts up a fight, but Bron just destroys him with multiple spears. It gets so bad that the referee has to stop the match, like Zayn physically couldn't keep going. That was a strong way to show how dangerous Breakker is, but it doesn't end there. Seth Rollins comes down while medical staff are checking on Sami and just stomps his head into the mat with a vicious curb stomp. Pure disrespect. Now this was a strong way to end the show, easily the best segment of the night. Built up Bron as a monster, kept Seth looking ruthless, and made Sami look like the heart and soul of Raw. It's clear this story is far from over. So yeah, overall, this week's Raw was just okay. It was fine. There were definitely some boring segments and a few matches that honestly didn't mean much in the grand scheme of things. Honestly, I think we only had 3 matches this week on Raw. It felt like filler for a good chunk of the show. But what stood out was Sami Zayn's storyline. His decision between Raw and SmackDown and how it's tied into the Seth Rollins faction with Bron Breakker and Paul Heyman. That stuff has real potential and it's keeping me interested. If they keep pushing that story forward, maybe Raw can bounce back next week, because right now it needs a bit more fire to the flame. Thanks for watching Third Rope. Let me know what you thought of Raw, and I'll see you in the next one.